We are live, I believe. Yeah. So we are here with Ring the Bell podcast number 11. We're going to be looking back at the action from the previous weekend, and also we'll be looking forward to what's coming up next weekend. Sorry about the technical difficulties with last week's stream. It had to be taken down. But rather than just redo that video, we thought we would cover those topics in this one, as not a lot happened this weekend. We will start with some action that did happen this weekend, though. Ryota Murata versus Emmanuel Felix Blandamura. I didn't catch the whole fight. I just saw the highlights of this one. Murata won by yeah, it was actually quite a good knockout, a good stoppage win in the eighth round, and that was for the WBA World Middleweight title, the regular version rather than the super version. What were your thoughts on this fight, Nathan?
From what I saw of it, it looked like one of those easy defences for Murata, just to
Yeah,
tag along sort of. But the knockout was really good. It was a right hand. It's a good knockout.
yeah, it looked like a lead right hook. It looked pretty good stoppage, but I'm not sure. I hadn't really heard of Blandamura. I know I, I've heard of him in the sense that he lost to Billy Joe Saunders in 2014. But
Oh God!
yeah, other than that, I don't really see any names on his record that make me think it was a great win for Murata. So it's an odd one. It's an odd one. He's got that WBA regular belt, but no one really knows who the fuck he is. I mean, he's 14-2, and he's 32 years old, and you wouldn't want to put him in with Canelo or GGG, would you?
No, I mean, but he's an Olympic gold medalist. He's got some pedigree to him, I mean,
I'm not saying he's not decent, but it's like levels, isn't it? There's levels, and I would say he's a level below Billy Joe Saunders, Danny Jacobs, Golovkin, and Canelo. I think all four of those guys would probably make not easy work of him, but I'd expect them to beat him. So I don't really see where he can go. He could. You were talking about a fight with Eubank Jr. Now Eubank Jr. might target that WBA regular belt as a way to get back into big fights. So possibly.
even then, I wouldn't like his chances. I have to be honest, too greatly from what I've
Who?
seen of him.
Who?
Eubanks.
Murata? Oh,
No, really, I have to be honest. I worry.
I think it would be a pretty close fight. I think, you've got an aging 32-year-old middleweight who's, I think it'd be a good fight for Eubank Jr. to work towards.
But
Maybe not in his next fight, but I think he could do some, he could win a fight like that. What
yeah,
other fights are out there for Murata though? That's the next
uh,
question.
you know what I mean. There's the obvious, but obviously that you wouldn't stick him in there with the champions, would you? The other champions, really.
Well, you'd say a unification with Billy Joe
Billy Joe
Saunders.
Saunders would be a
He'd
good fight.
It would be an all right fight, but I'd expect Billy Joe Saunders to probably win it 8-4,
Yeah,
9-3 on points. And so it would be a good fight for Billy Joe Saunders to get another belt. If he had the WBA regular and the WBO, it would help towards making the Canelo or GGG fight, whatever
yeah.
one of those happens. So for Billy Joe Saunders' point of view, it's a good fight. I just wonder what winnable fights are out there at the top level from Murata. I tell you what, if Martin Murray could somehow pull an upset against Billy Joe Saunders,
Yeah.
then Murata's looking at a good unification fight, something along those lines. But
In the middle of the road sort of fight. Yeah.
yeah, that'd be an interesting one. I think Murray would
Maruta's
probably lose late, but it'd be a good fight.
Maruta's like the champion who people think, yeah, he's got a belt, but we're not really bothered about him.
What's the problem is it's the WBA regular. That's the problem. So who cares? That's the biggest problem is that if someone has the super belt, the regular belt feels like a knockoff.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
That's the problem I think he faces right now. But yeah, it's a good fight, a good win. I do look forward to seeing where he goes next and who he fights next. But it'll be have to wait and see what he does. I think a fight against Daniel Jacobs would be interesting, but I'd predict Daniel Jacobs to win personally.
Yeah, you'd have to say so.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's one of those things. Right. Well, we've talked about that enough for now. I'm just bringing something up on BoxRec quickly. The Carl Frampton card. There's some good fights on this one. I think I might actually share the screen quickly. Let's do that. Screen share application. Google Chrome. You can see that, right?
Yes.
That's great. I will present to everyone for now so that it just stays on my screen. Okay, so we got Ryan Hatton, who I believe is somehow related to Ricky Hatton, but I'm not sure that's true. Might be like a nephew or something like that. I can't remember. But he's fighting in his third fight on the card against an absolute nobody. But be interesting. If you've got the Hatton name, it's interesting to watch your fights. Stephen Ward, light heavyweight prospect. He's fighting an absolute bum on the card. Michael Kike or Kayak? Cheech? I have no idea how to say that name. Tyrone McCulloch is fighting Elvis Guillian. Like, these prospects are fighting absolute bums at the bottom of the card. So we'll have to ignore some of these fights a little bit. But I'm interested to see them out there. I'm not that interested in the fights. The first decent fight on the card, Conrad Cummings, 13-1-1, fighting Luke Keebler, 13-2-1. So you'd have to say it's a pretty close matchup just based on the records. But Luke Keebler is a bit older. He's 30. He's from Ireland. I think I've seen him fight on a couple of shows before. Ooh, for me, I don't really know enough about either of these guys to make a solid prediction, but I would perhaps hazard a guess that Conrad Cummings has more upside, possibly it's hard to say because his last two wins were against a guy who was 11-21 and a guy who was 18-62. Yeah. 62 losses. But whereas Luke Keeler's last fight was against a guy with 29 losses. So it's not great from either of them. So it's hard to make a great prediction on that one. I'm going to lead towards Conrad Cummings. He's the younger, fresher man, but I really don't know enough about either of them. The next fight at super lightweight. Now, this is a really good fight, a cracking little fight. Tyrone McKenna, 15-0-1, fighting Anthony Upton, 17-1. This is at super lightweight. I've seen Upton fight before. His last few opposition were absolute bums. He's never really fought anybody good, so this is a huge, huge step up for Upton. Whereas McKenna, I've seen fight before as well, and he fought that Reynold Garrido guy who's 19-16 in his last fight, and he's not really fought anybody of any note either. So it's both of them are stepping up into the unknown, really. From what I've seen, I would personally lean to Tyrone McKenna. He's an older, more experienced guy, but both of them have fought absolute nobodies. And when you fought absolute nobodies, it's really fucking hard to make any sort of big judgment on their career. Those two fights, they're good fights, but they're stepping up into the unknown, and it's hard to make a prediction. I'm going to lean towards Tyrone McKenna, though. The next fight. Now, this is finally an interesting fight. BoxRec have given this 4 stars. I'm not so sure. I'd say it's probably more 3 stars. Zolani Tete is fighting Omar Andre Narvaez. And, you know, he was a great champion in his day. He was a great fighter in his day. He lost to Inoue. He lost to Donaire. He lost to sort of the best guys in the division. But he's got some very good wins as well. But the problem is he's 42, and a bantamweight that's 42 is weird.
Unheard of, really.
The other unheard of for sure. The other problem is he's 5'2.5", and Zolani Tete's 5'9". Just think about that.
That's crazy.
6.5 inches in height. So I am heavily leaning towards Zolani Tete. He's the younger guy, probably the more powerful guy, the more skilled guy, the taller guy, the guy with longer reach. So it's a bit of a shit fight again for Tete, really. It's a fight he has to look. It's a fight in which he has to win very convincingly to get any credit. And those are risky fights, because if you look bad in this fight, then you've got problems, haven't you? So it's an interesting
one wants to fight him anyway. They're all bloody scared of him.
I agree in some ways, but if that's the case, move up. He's a huge guy. He could fight at super bantamweight, no problem.
He can't be making any money. He can't be making any money.
I think he must be making decent money because Frank Warren signed him, and I reckon when he was fighting out of South Africa, he was making a lot less. So I reckon he's happy with. When you're a champion, you get paid all right money, even if it's a shit defense. He's probably making 300, 400 grand a fight. I don't know. Maybe maybe 200. Maybe 200. I don't know. You got to keep a WBO champion somewhat well paid and happy. Otherwise, they can go and sign for other people. I don't know. It's hard to say exactly. Maybe 200 grand, but he's earning more now fighting for Frank Warren than he was in South Africa, for sure. If he can get that big fight against Jamie McDonnell, Ryan Burnett, Inoue, any of those guys, he'll make big money. So it's just a waiting game, I think. I think
the winner. Move up.
I personally think he's going to fight the winner of McDonnell Inoue. That's my guess. I'm actually going to go out on a limb and predict McDonnell for that fight, but that's another talk for another time.
Controversial.
It's out there. It's out there. But Gavin's got some of the best wins. He's got some of the best wins in that division on his record out of any of the. He's actually got. I know one of his wins recently was controversial, and then he got lucky because of the stoppage with the cut. But I personally feel he was going to win those. Win that fight.
I thought he was moving up and vacating.
McDonnell.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's fighting Inoue.
Oh. Is that for the belt?
Yes, I believe it is. Let me look this up. This wasn't what I was planning on.
Look it on the screen.
I don't know today, but we will have a look. Jamie McDonnell is fighting Inoue. No, it's for the. No, he hasn't moved up. It's for the bantamweight.
No, that's what I was thinking. He hasn't moved up.
Yeah, it's for the bantamweight title. I think he was gonna move up, right? But then the Inoue fight is too much big money, big opportunity. But he has dropped his belt, I believe. He won't be. This is not for a unification. It's for just the WBA. So it's interesting. Oh no, it's Jamie's belt. Jesus Christ. Yeah. Jamie's taken his belt to Japan to defend it against Inoue. That's not fucking about, is it? That deserves a lot of respect. Yeah. But I mean, if you look at Jamie's wins, they're good, man. He's got Kameda twice, Vargas, Solis once with an ND, He's got a lot of 4-star wins. Julio Cesar, Stuart Hall back in the day, Stefan Jamoy. That was a big fight at the time.
But he doesn't get the credit he deserves. He never
No,
will, in my opinion.
I think if he goes over and beats Inoue, I think people will have to start shouting about him because.
Yeah, but in this country, because it's a lower weight, people are not so interested. Have you noticed that? The casuals don't care about the bantamweight.
I think so, but he will get respect in the right places. But I would love to see the winner of Inoue and McDonnell fight Tete. That's a great fight.
Yeah.
That's a proper fight. Whoever wins, that's a proper fight. That is. So, yeah, I'm interested in Tete. Hopefully, he comes through this fight against Omar Andres Narvaez in comfortable fashion. And that brings us on to the main event. Carl Frampton versus Nonito Donaire for the interim WBO. Frank Warren and that WBO and the interim WBO and the fucking hell. It's impressive how many WBO shots his fighters get.
Because they're in cahoots.
They must. There's got to be something to it because what has Frampton done recently to be getting this shot at the interim WBO? I mean, maybe maybe he was in high esteem with them already, but Jesus, it's odd, very odd. But regardless of the belt's not really important in this fight. This is just a big fight between two aging featherweights. I think that's fair to say. Obviously, Donaire is older. He's 35. But, Frampton has showed signs of aging in his last two fights, really. The second Santa Cruz fight, he didn't look great. Horacio Garcia fight, he looked all right, but it wasn't, it wasn't special. And so I do wonder about Carl Frampton. Does he have it in the tank? I think he's got it in the tank to beat Donaire. But he
hasn't aged that badly. He's aged, but he hasn't aged.
Exactly. I still think he's got it in the tank to beat Donaire. I would worry about putting him in with the Santa Cruz for the trilogy of the Santa Cruz fight, unless he puts on a really good performance against Donaire. What do you think about that?
Because of the distractions he's had, it's understandable, isn't it, with promoters and trainers and God knows what.
100%. 100%. It's understandable, but it's still a fact that he has shown signs of diminishing rather than getting better recently.
You wouldn't put him in there with Valdez, would you? I wouldn't right now.
I wouldn't put him in for the Santa Cruz trilogy right now. I would want him to show me a really good performance against Donaire, and then I would consider those fights. But if he only scrapes past Donaire, I am still worried for him a little bit. Yeah.
The thing with him, because he's done so much in his career, he's unified bantamweight belts and won a version of the featherweight title. He's achieved a hell of a lot.
Oh, a hell of a lot. There's no doubt, but it's just this trial stuff going on around him right now. I think a lot of people would see his career as incomplete if he doesn't have the trilogy with Santa Cruz, because it's 1-1. You can't leave it at 1-1, right? That's crazy.
Not really, no.
He stole Santa Cruz's 0, and then Santa Cruz stole his 0. So it's sort of like you kind of have to.
But Santa Cruz has gone on to improve, whereas Frampton seems to. Yeah.
That's because Santa Cruz was younger. I don't know, man. I think really Santa Cruz has only fought Chris Avalos since the Frampton fight. He's signed to fight Abner Mares, which is a good rematch. I'll enjoy that fight with Abner Mares, but I think. Everybody wants Santa Cruz to fight Frampton again for the trilogy, but we just want Frampton to be fit and in good form when he goes into that fight. So hopefully he looks good against Donaire. I think he will do. I just worry because like we talk about, he's got the trial in the background, the court case. He's moved trainers a couple of times. He's, it's not good signs sometimes when a lot of that's going on in the background. It can lead to a distracted fighter, and you do not want to be distracted against Donaire because even if he's aging, he's still crafty and he could steal rounds and win this fight.
Well, is Donaire a full weight world champion? Isn't he? I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, Donaire's no joke. Donaire's, I still rate Donaire highly. I think the only thing against him is his age, really.
And the amount. Have you noticed whenever in his career, whenever he loses a world title, he moves up and gets automatically get another world title shot somehow.
Sure, but that's because if you lose a world title and you move up, I think you do deserve to get not a shot straight away, but you deserve to be highly ranked because if you're in the world title picture, you are already highly ranked. But he's had losses to Nicholas Walters. He lost to Rigondeaux. He lost to Jesse Magdaleno. But they're all top level fights. And so you do have to wonder, and he lost his second ever fight as a professional. So
Frampton and Donaire has always gone the hard route, whereas someone like Terry Flanagan gets it on a plate.
Sure. Donaire has had more 5-star fights in a row than I've seen. Oh no, 4, 5, 4. He's had a lot of big fights. Fernando Montiel. He fought Omar Andre Navarez and won back in 2011. Vasquez Jr., Jorge Arca. He lost to Rigondeaux, came back and beat Darchinyan, Vetcheka. Yeah. That was a good fight. He's got he's probably got the most big wins at featherweight out of all of the active featherweights. So you do have to wonder, if he's still got enough left, it's going to be a tough night for Frampton, I think. But I do think Frampton will come through. I do predict he'll come through.
He's a great fighter, Donaire. I mean, like I say, Frampton's Donaire's just on the wrong end of 35. That's all. That's the only crime he's got.
Exactly. 5 years. Well, let's say 2-3 years ago, this fight would be a real pick'em fight. 50-50. But at the moment, I lean towards Frampton.
Yeah.
We can quickly go back and cover the James DeHale Truax fight, which the stream last week got deleted because of some technical issues. So that didn't get covered by us. James DeHale, I mean, everybody's talked about it now, but I just quickly wanted to say, I agree with the great majority of the opinion that he is close to past it. Unless he changes something big in his camp, he didn't look good in that victory. I know he was cut. He showed the heart of a warrior. He did show what he's all about, but he needs to show a bit more if he's going to beat Groves, Callum Smith, Benavidez, Ramirez. Those top guys will have him for breakfast if he fights in that manner.
Would you say he's had a hard career, hasn't he? Really,
he's had a very tough career, and he's made fights tougher than he needed to at times. The Porky Medina fight, even when he won Badou Jack, when he won the world title, he's at times he's been guilty of trying to be too brave for his own good when he could have just boxed a little bit more in those fights and taken it easier. But I do hope he can. I hope I'm wrong. That's what my main point is. I hope he can prove us all wrong. I hope he can find something within himself and get back to that level of when he won the world title, when he was defending it against Bute. Some of those were good performances. So if he can get back to that level, I have some good hopes for him. But I agree with people. The majority of the opinion was that if he doesn't change something dramatically, he is going to be at the end of his career very soon. I think that's fair to say.
Definitely, yeah.
The other fight was Lara Heard, which this was an absolute cracker. Did you get time to go back and watch this one?
I only watched it from the 10 rounds. I forgot all about it.
Right. You should go and watch the last 2 rounds because they're dramatic. Lara boxed well for. I gave Lara 6 rounds. I gave him 1 to 5, which he won convincingly in my eyes. He builds up into fights slowly, and he basically gave Lara the first 5 rounds. He started coming on strong in 6, 7, 8. I gave Lara round 11, I believe. It might have been 11. It might have been round 10. I can't remember what it was. It was a couple of weeks ago now, but I gave Lara 6 rounds. However, Heard scored a knockdown in the final round, in the 12th round, with about a minute and a half to go, I believe. Maybe only a minute to go. And so that won him the fight. He won 114, 113. So if he'd had not scored the knockdown, it would have either been a draw or a Lara win. And so it's a really dramatic, a lot of people would claim, lucky flash knockdown or something, but not really. He built the pressure all fight from rounds 5, onwards, round 6, 7, 8, 9. He built the pressure on Lara and he just got to him. Lara couldn't take the pressure. The interesting thing, of course, was Lara didn't fight the way Lara usually fights. He didn't dance around the ring. He didn't fight with in and out action. He fought Heard's fight a little bit and tried to war with him. And I think that was Lara's detriment. If they do have a rematch, I would actually still lean towards Lara. I think he would train harder to be fitter so that Heard can't get to him so quickly. I think it would take Heard longer to break him down next time. And I also think Lara would dance more and do a lot more movement in a second fight. But it was a really good win for Heard. Take nothing away from Heard. He did exactly what he needed to do to beat the man in front of him on the night. And so, yeah, you've got to give him a lot of credit. It was dramatic scenes, especially when the scorecards were read out. You could tell the audience realized immediately that the knockdown had won the fight. So it was a good fight on that front, actually, and I give Heard a lot of credit. I do think he looks weird mechanically. He slaps with some of his hooks and he squares up a little bit too much. I'd be really interested to see him fight the winner of Kelbrook Amir Khan, because I think whoever won that fight would give him nightmares.
You know what? I'm going to be straight with you here. I think Jarrett Hurd can be a big star. The way he's going, causing all these upsets. I know he's got his vulnerabilities, but he could have a unification with Charlo, and then if he wins that, he becomes a massive star overnight.
He could, but I think Charlo would punish him bad. His mistakes are Sam Eggington level mistakes. They are squaring up your shoulders when you fall in with your punches, smothering your own work, slapping with your hooks, and getting caught a lot. I think if a clever boxer and big puncher fights Heard's he's got some of the same vulnerabilities that Eubank Jr. has. He's a good fighter, not a good boxer. And I think a real technical boxer. I mean, Lara is a real technical boxer, so I give Heard a lot of credit. I think he is still vulnerable, though. And I do agree with you, he can be a big star. He's still fairly young. I think he's only 27.
He's younger than that. I think he's about 25, I believe, so he's only going to get better with age. I think people are writing him off already. He's still learning.
I don't want to write him off. No, he is 27 already, by the way. Look, he's got a great win over Austin Trout, a huge win over Lara. I just personally do still wonder. I think Lara could beat him in a rematch, personally. if Lara boxed a little more, basically, if Lara moved a little bit more with his boxing style, I think Hurd would have a problem. I think Hurd would have a big problem with Amir Khan as well. It's all well and good, Amir, or if you catch Amir Khan, you'll knock him out. Sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure Jarrett Hurd would catch Amir Khan. Amir Khan's way, way too fast for that.
I think Khan would. We're going to come to Khan later and after this, but I just don't think Khan would win. I think Hurd would hunt him down and eventually knock him out.
Possibly. I think if the fight's in Khan's backyard, if it's in England, Khan would have a huge, huge ring, absolutely like the biggest possible ring that is legally allowed. And I think he'd do similar work on what he did to Devon Alexander, to Jarrett Hurd. I don't think Jarrett Hurd is good enough as a boxer. He's no Canelo. He's not Danny Garcia. I mean, Danny Garcia has his problems as well, but he can construct a hook properly.
From anywhere, yeah.
That's a big difference. Watch Jarrett Hurd's hooks. They are slaps. They are. He doesn't turn his punches over. And so it is amazing that he has that much power. If someone could teach him to construct his punches properly, he'd be a real threat. I just think Charlo, possibly Brooke, they give him fits. Amir Khan gives him fits. That movement boxing style is going to cause him problems, in my opinion.
Problem I have with all this is I don't know. We'll see what happens with him. What's his space for him? That's all I'm going to say. I think you'll be surprised what he does personally.
I root for him. I want him to do well. I only point out his flaws because I feel like if he corrected them, he'd be amazing. I just wonder, when you slap with your punches and you square your shoulders up, someone somewhere has an answer for that. That's all I think on that. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope he proves me wrong. But I always lean towards the boxer over the fighter, as you know. That's always my general.
Do you want to talk about the Amir Khan card at the end or next?
We can move on to it next because it fits in. It fits in nicely.
There's a couple of good fights on this.
Yeah.
Do you want me to roll through them, or you got them up?
Well, I'm bringing up the event now. Right. So obviously, Amir Khan's not even the main event of his own return.
Sean Dodd against Tommy Core, which is a cracker.
Great fight.
Further down the card, there's some names. There's Tom Farrell's fighting against the TBA. Conor Ben's fighting a guy who's got 13 wins,
8 losses. Yeah, I mean,
Eggington is fighting a guy with 15 wins and 14 losses.
Yeah, I'm happy to see Eggington back, and
I like it.
Yeah, Ryan Toms isn't actually as bad as his record makes out, I believe. If you go and look at those losses, they're to the likes of Tony Dixon, Sonny Upton, Mason Cartwright. They're not Ben Hall. He got a draw with. They're all lost. Jimmy Kelly, he lost to. So they're kind of. Brian Toms is a weird guy. That's why BoxRec have given this a 2-star.
I feel sorry for Sam Eggington because he's a 24-year-old lad who's you would have thought he was in his mid-30s, early 30s. The way he's fighting.
He looks young, man.
24.
But he's been fighting since like he was very, very young. You have to remember that.
What year did he start?
2012, when he was 18. So
for me, he's
professional at 18.
Career. When I look at his career, he's done it in the wrong order, hasn't he? Really, he's had the hard stuff before.
Yeah, he never had an amateur career, I don't think. I think he went into a gym saying he wanted to be like a journeyman or like someone who goes and loses. And then he got brought into Prize Fighter and he lost in the first round, I believe, to Dale Evans, who isn't a bad fighter himself, but hasn't gone on to do the same things that Sam Eggington has. Obviously, Sam's still very young. That loss to Mamoon, that was a bad loss because it was the exact same loss that he had to Bradley Skeet, and it showed that he hasn't learned how to box. He's a good fighter.
It's a shame because of the Malignaggi one, you know. But he's like a guilty pleasure. He's like the fighter you really want to be worked.
Yeah. I like Sam Eggington. I think he'll come back and do well. Remember, he had the good win over Frankie Gavin. What he really needs is to work on his boxing and develop his power a little bit more, and then go back after Mimoun. Because I think he could beat Mimoun.
Isn't Mimoun the IBO champion? Yeah.
EBU, I believe he might also be the IBO as well. Yes, he did win the vacant IBO. So he's the IBO and EBU champion currently.
At the same time, oh,
he might have dropped the EBU, but
yeah, yes, yeah.
I'm not sure about the IBO's rules. I'm pretty sure they'd let you keep both, but it doesn't look like he did keep it. But the point is, I would definitely lead Sam Eggington towards a rematch with Mimoun, because I think
but he's gone up a weight now. He's gone up to super welterweight now.
Yeah, but I don't think Sam Eggington's got long for. I think Sam Eggington's moving up in this fight as well.
He's already moved up. From what I can see.
Fair. I don't think Mimoun. Mimoun's gone back down to 140, so that fight's a little way away. Yeah, shit.
Well, I'd like to see Amir Khan fight Eggington in his comeback fight. That would have been a great fight, wouldn't it?
Not really, because
not for Amir Khan.
Not for either of them, because that's a fight that either Amir Khan is going to win 12-0 on points or get knocked out. Yeah, and I don't think it would be good to watch, really.
I'd love to see Eggington, because he'd just take the punches, then he'll try and knock Khan's head off. Yeah, and he's got that kind of ability to do it.
He would, but if Mimoun can box your head off, then Amir Khan can definitely box your head off. That's all I would say on that. That's the problem, is that I would predict Amir Khan to win that fight 10-2. That's the problem. That's Eggington's problem, is he really needs to show. He needs to fight some lower level boxers, guys like the Gavin Frankie Gavin fight was perfect, because Frankie Gavin, he will have learned a lot in that fight, and the Paulie Malignaggi fight was perfect.
Yeah.
He needs to fight some more guys a little bit like that sort of level, so that he can. He's a great fighter, but if he can improve his boxing as well, then he might get another shot, you know, a European or world title.
Because he's a warrior, people like him. But his defense is dreadful.
It is, and that's what I mean. That's why he needs to fight some people that aren't going to knock him out, but are going to give him rounds which he might lose. Paulie Malignaggi, Frankie Gavin, those were great learning fights for him. He needs to, that fight with Glenn Foote was a good fight as well. Shane Singleton, some fights like that again would get him back on the right track.
Natasha Jonas is on the card, but for me, the best fight on this card is Sean Dodd against Tommy Court. That's a great fight.
Yeah, it's not a bad fight at all, is it? I'm really excited for I'm excited for Khan's comeback. Obviously, this Phil LaGreco guy, he's not much.
He's a bum.
But
he's got a good
Amir Khan's chin has been knocked out at lower weight classes by people that we also thought were bums at the time.
Redis Prescott.
Right, Redis Prescott's a great example.
But this is a fight that I think he'll win comfortably on point, or he'll knock him out late. You know, he could lose it. He could.
I think Amir Khan will probably win 11-1, 10-2. No, I expect a unanimous points decision. I don't think Amir Khan carries a lot of power.
Have you noticed since he moved up to welterweight 4 years ago, he never had many knockouts anymore.
That's what I mean. And now he's moved up again. Is this at welterweight or is it a catchweight?
This is a I don't know. Let me have a look.
Oh, it's at welterweight, I believe.
Yeah. I think Amir Khan is a shadow of what he used to be. I don't think he's got the right intentions anymore like he used to be. I don't think he loves the boxing life.
No, I think he's come back to get a big payday against Kell Brook. He's finally ready to swallow his pride and take that fight because it's a good retirement check. That's my personal opinion on why Amir Khan came back.
If you look at Khan's career, he won the silver medal, had like 18 fights unbeaten, lost to British Prescott, then he had one fight light welterweight, wins a world title against one of the weakest world champions in the decade. Continent. Did you watch that fight?
I remember it. Yeah.
And then he gets unification. Then he loses his titles. Then he gets them back again through drugs, and then he loses to Garcia. And he never really could. When he lost to Garcia, do you remember he had like those 4 or 5 fights where he would fight twice a year over a 5-year period?
Yeah, Carlos Molina, Julio Diaz, Collazo, Devon Alexander. He made good money fighting the likes of Devon Alexander and Chris Algieri.
On the PBC model,
yeah, that's right.
But the thing is, it's brought him here to a place where he should have stayed all along. You know, as soon as he lost to Garcia, he should have come back in 2030. To this point, he's lost so much money in the last 2 years.
I tend to disagree. I disagree a bit. I think he got paid a shit ton for losing to Saul Alvarez, probably more than.
He got about 2 million for that. 2-3 million.
No, he got more than 10 million for that fight easily.
You're joking. I thought he only got like 4
to fight Saul Canelo Alvarez. No way.
Yeah, but he wasn't the big name in the fighters. He was just
It doesn't really matter. It's the same thing if you're coming to fight Anthony Joshua. You don't really need to be a big name, but you're gonna get 3, 4, 5 million guaranteed, no matter what.
How much has that loss taken out of him? That's what I'm worried about.
A lot. This is the big thing. This was the big question. Why on earth did Amir Khan fight Saul Canelo Alvarez and Kell Brook fight Gennady Golovkin instead of fighting? Well, but if they'd have fought each other, they'd have probably earned more money or similar money and taken less punishment.
And could continue boxing for another 4 years.
That's the thing. Exactly that. So yeah, it's hard to get so excited about this fight now, but I am still pumped for it, you know.
But the thing for me, if Amir Khan will get knocked out in 4 or 5 rounds, Bob, he's too big, too strong.
I completely agree.
And we all know him, and that's it.
The problem with that is not necessarily. There's fights that he can win out there. I think.
This Kell Brook fight is 3 years overdue. 3, 4 years overdue.
Yeah, we know that, but what can you do? You get it when you get it. It was the same thing for Mayweather-Pacquiao. You can't force them to fight each other. It will happen when it happens. But I agree.
I know deep down it eats Amir Khan inside. He hates the fact that Kell Brook won a world title welterweight. He can't stand the success Kell Brook's had.
I agree. I also think he hates that. He despises the fact that Kell Brook represents his biggest payday. I don't think he likes that at all.
He does, yeah. Because he thinks Kell Brook is beneath him and he's always fought you.
Sure. But I disagree with Khan on that fact. I think Khan is the better boxer. Too big. We know that.
Yeah.
But
Kell Brook
is the more of the complete package fighter.
No, Kell Brook is just a nutcase. He's not a bottler. He doesn't quit. If he gets smashed in the head, he's going to kick you back. If Amir Khan gets smacked, he's going to back off and run away like a little girl. Whereas Brook will, if he goes toe to toe with Brook, Khan will get knocked out straight away.
He won't
Brooks too
go.
powerful.
He won't go toe to toe with Brook. It would be a terrible idea. Khan will dance his way through as many rounds as he can in that fight.
I mean, Brook is a massive like middleweight, isn't he? Really?
He was a huge welterweight. He's a pretty big 154. He would be a pretty normal sized middleweight. That's the truth of it. He wouldn't be small at middleweight, Kell Brook.
How do you think he'd do against Chris Eubank Jr.? He'd beat Eubank Jr., wouldn't he?
Not necessarily. You got to remember, Eubank Jr. is a 168 now. I think that size difference is still a lot. Too big at the moment. If Eubank came back down to 160, it's not a fight I'd be scared to put Brook in at all. But at 168, I wouldn't want to do that for Brook. I don't think he needs any more fights where he jumps 2 divisions.
And too many more broken eye sockets.
Right.
I think Brook's crazy for continuing to fight anyway, personally.
I disagree. I completely...
I know Miguel Cotto, yeah. I just think it's crazy himself.
Cotto, Malignaggi, many fighters have had broken orbital bones. I can understand why people think...
What about the confrontation last week with Errol Spence?
I thought that was funny.
Who's smashed your eye socket and nearly blinded you, offering to fight me. That's a dumb move.
No, I think Kell Brook has his number at 154.
Possibly.
I think Kell Brook was winning that fight on points quite convincingly until he had the broken eye socket, right? And so you take Kell Brook, who's not been drained, and put him in that fight. The Kell Brook that beat Sean Porter, I think that would have been a 50-50, could have even been a draw at the end of the fight. You know what I mean? So at 154, it's a different ball game. You know, we don't know if Errol Spence's power will carry to 154. I imagine it will.
I think it will.
Yeah,
I think
it will, but we don't know for sure. I think it's a whole different ball game. I think it would be too. I think Kell Brook would have some of the advantages back that he lost by being drained in that division. So it would be an interesting fight for me. Kell Brook's got a lot of balls. You know, I agree. Going up to a guy that did that to you and saying you still want to fight, that's bravery.
Madness.
Some would say so. Let's move on to the Charlo fight. He's fighting Hugo Centeno Jr. Now, it's not a bad fight. Not a bad fight at all, really. But it's not a mega fight, is it?
No, not really.
It's not Daniel Jacobs. It's not Billy Joe Saunders. It's none of these guys. It's a guy that, you know, has had good wins, no doubt. I'm looking at his record here. I've seen a couple of his fights. I think I saw the fight against Emmanuel Alim. I'd have to go and check, but I'm pretty sure I did. It was a good knockout. Yeah. So it's a good fight. I just don't really know 100% enough about Hugo Centeno Jr. So it's an odd fight for me because there's much bigger fights out there in the division, and I'd predict Charlo to win this one. Late stoppage. What do you think to that?
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd agree with that.
Yeah, it's one of those ones.
Right, the big news: Tyson Fury's come back.
Of course.
Signed with Frank Warren. I'm happy. I'm glad to see him back. I waited 2.5 years.
It's closer to 3 years now, just so you're aware. Yeah, it is closer to 3 years. And yeah, it's good to see him back. I'm not sure what he's going to be doing, though, really. It's an odd one. To sign with Frank Warren is weird, in my opinion, because...
If you're a top heavyweight like that, yeah. I would have thought he would have just signed with Hearn.
Personally, I would have thought he would either sign with Hearn or Ludabella Wilder's management, or Golden Boy,
Saudi.
maybe even Golden Boy or yeah. I'm surprised at Warren because Warren took him years to get the Vlad fight. He did get. I mean, the thing is, Warren has worked with Fury and Mick Hennessy in the past, so it's not unusual in that sense. But it, it puts the AJ fight further away. And it does show that Fury's going to be fighting 4 guys at a low level before he comes back, because that's what him and Warren have agreed to, I believe.
Yeah, it's a strange arrangement, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't want to be down on it. I'm happy that Tyson's back. I want to see the opponent lined up for June 6th before I get super excited.
It's not going to be someone good. It's going to be someone...
No, I've heard rumours that it's going to be that Scottish idiot that AJ knocked out. Gary Cornish, yeah.
That's a waste of everybody's time, isn't it?
That's what I mean. That's why I'm not too excited yet. When I see the opponent, I'll get more excited. Right. I quickly wanted to go back and cover the rest of the Jermell Charlo card. Because on that card, Emmanuel Alim is actually fighting Daniel Echeverria. And that's not a bad fight. It's not terrible. You've got Raushi Warren, who, lost that fight to Zenit Zakyanov back in 2017. He's in a comeback. Well, he beat McJoe Arroyo in a comeback, but he's in another fight against Juan Gabriel Medina. And it looks like that could be a decent bout. I kind of still rate Raushi Warren even after his loss, because losing to Zenit Zakyanov so early on in your career isn't really that much of a big deal. And his other loss to Payano, he rectified in his very next fight. So I still have some, I'm still interested to see how Raushi Warren does. Be interested to see him on the card. You've got George Arias, who's a heavyweight 10-0 guy. He's fighting on the card, but the thing about him, I've seen him fight before. He's a 6-foot heavyweight, which doesn't really exist anymore in the boxing division, in the heavyweight division. So I am interested in him and his career, but a 6-foot heavyweight, I really feel like he needs to do something about that. He either get stretched on the wheel, like get stretched so he's taller, or go down to cruiserweight. Heather Hardy is in a big fight, or a female fight, against Iranda Paola Torres, and that's an interesting one. Heather Hardy's quite a decent fighter. She's got some fairly big wins in the context of the women's boxing. It's an interesting fight. I'd like to see her because there could be some big fights with some of our British ladies at some point if they all keep winning. So that's interesting. But then we come to the 2 big fights. Gervonta Davis is fighting Jesus Marcelo Andres Quella, which I think's a big fight. I think Quella's quite good. He's probably being overlooked for this fight a little bit.
For a vacant belt, ain't it?
Yeah, it's for a vacant belt, I believe. Is it for a vacant one, or is it just?
It's a vacant world title, I believe. Yeah, have a quick look. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, you're right. Obviously, we know all about Quella. He's had big wins. He beat Juan Manuel Lopez, Jonathan Oquendo. There's some big wins. Tapia. There's some all right wins on his record, but obviously he had the loss to Abner Mares, and earlier in his career he was defeated as well. But I still see this as quite a big fight. I expect Gervonta Davis to come through it, maybe with a late stoppage, but Quella has a 70% knockout ratio, which at super featherweight is not particularly bad. It's pretty high knockout percentage. obviously Gervonta Davis has a 95% knockout ratio. So you would lean towards him to win by stoppage, but anything can happen. It's a good fight. I'm interested in that one. What are your thoughts on that one, man?
I think Davis will win comfortably. He's a good fighter.
He is, but Queller's not a bad fighter, and his box record given that 5 stars as a fight. So I'm interested in it. It's a good one. It's a good one. Hopefully Davis comes through it and looks good, but you never know when you're fighting an experienced, crafty guy. Then, of course, we come to the main event. This is a fight I think Adrian Broner is fucking crazy for taking.
It's a mismatch.
He's going to lose so badly unless he's completely and utterly changed his persona, attitude, and outlook towards boxing. Jesse Vargas should demolish him. Really, I don't see any other way about it. Jesse Vargas, had the stoppage over Saddam Ali. His only losses come to Timothy Bradley Jr. and Manny Pacquiao, which, they're not bad people to lose to, really, are they? Yeah, I kind of see Jesse Vargas as the big favourite for this. I don't really understand why. Isn't it a catch weight, or have they decided to actually do this at welterweight now?
Sure,
No, yeah, it says on the fight catch weight 144. Yeah, that's pathetic. And if it was at 147, I'd make Vargas the 90% favourite. Because it's at 144, I make him like the 70 or 80% favourite, but I still expect Vargas to win this convincingly.
I'd go there.
Yeah, it's a shame because Broner had so much talent in his career, but he is the perfect example of he is who you should show all young fighters who just start to get famous how to not let fame and boxing fame go to your head. Because Adrian Broner took it the wrong way. Instead of using it to become a better boxer and more famous, he focused on the wrong stuff.
Way to failure.
Yeah, that's it. It's a boxer's way to you can have all the talent in the world, but if you haven't got the commitment and the heart in this sport, then you're going to have big problems. So, yeah, unfortunately, I think this writes the end for Adrian Broner. I think another tough loss to Vargas.
He's just an opponent. He's now just an opponent.
He is, but I think he's not even going to be seen as that after 1 or 2 more fights. He's going to be seen as a journeyman or a gatekeeper.
He'll have to retire at this rate. He can't
Slowly
be
but surely.
Good money. He can't be making good money anymore.
But he'll be making good money for this fight, I imagine. This is a big fight against Jesse Vargas.
Who's advising him? This is what's alarming.
I don't even want to know because I'll just strangle them. Telling him to eat chips in every interview and fucking dipping in mad nacho cheese and guacamole and eating mad hot dogs in every other interview. It's not been a great look for his last 5 years.
If you said to me 8 years ago when I first saw him win a world title, he would end it the way he is, I would have never guessed.
No. Everybody predicted big things for him, and I did too. It is a sad state of affairs.
If you want a day, you can go the same way.
That's what I mean. There's, he's already had some trouble with the law, right? There's some stupidity out there for some of these guys, and they can get themselves in trouble out of absolutely nowhere. Look at that fucking guy who was fighting Billy Joe Saunders. What was his name? No, the Georgian guy who got arrested for being a mob boss.
I've forgotten his name.
Avintadel Katsidis, I think. Yeah, something like that. For extortion and fraud. So you never know what some of these guys are up to in their spare time. You just never fucking know. It's the problem. But some great fights coming up for the 21st, man. I'm super excited for some of those. I hope some of the fans are too.
There's a couple more bits in news.
Yeah, let's cover it. Let's go into it.
Paul Butler has a title shot.
We said it. We called it. He's got a shot at a vacant IBF title. Now we give Warren stick for the WBO, but there's something funny going on with Matchroom in the IBF as well. No.
Yeah. I mean, Paul Butler keeps getting unlimited title shots. Easy.
even after losses, it's impressive. It is impressive. I'm impressed that they got him the shot. I'm not surprised though. We said he would get a shot. We said it. We called it a long time ago. I know you were only half joking, but every joke has a basis in reality, and we kind of knew Paul Butler would get another title shot out of nowhere. It was written in the stars.
Yeah, I'm just Paul Butler bores me. His fights are boring. He has no personality. He's getting a belt, another cast-off belt like he did last time.
To be fair, if you can get Paul Butler and Josh Taylor on a big card in Scotland, then that is good for Scottish boxing, and so I'm happy on that sense. But I agree with you; his fights are boring.
Josh Taylor should be getting the world title shot ahead of this guy who's already had a world title.
I agree. I agree, but it's just the way boxing crumbles. Josh Taylor's not quite ready for the world title yet.
Josh Taylor would beat.
But here's the thing: if Paul Butler can win this title, then Josh Taylor versus Paul Butler is a huge pay-per-view in Scotland, and so
that's crazy. Isn't it? That's crazy, isn't it? Really?
Sure, it's a little bit crazy, but someone like ITV or Channel 5 could put it on. It might not necessarily be pay-per-view, but it will sell out easily. And it would be a big, big night for Scottish boxing. So in that sense, I'm happy that Paul Butler's getting the shot, but I agree with you in every other sense. It is dull, and he doesn't really deserve the shot, but it's the way boxing crumbles sometimes. What was the other news you had, man?
Joe Joyce is set to be fighting Leroy Thomas.
This is big news. You called this is you're on a fucking roll, actually. You're on a roll of predictions because you called this one as well. I'll let you gloat for a minute.
I want to hear your thoughts on the fight.
Oh, it's a great fight. I'm interested in it. I'm a bit naffed off because I think it does put Dave Allen. Yeah, it puts Dave Allen in a really shit position where apparently I heard he was in talks to fight Daniel Dubois, and all I've got to say is, Dave Allen, if somehow you hear this, do not fight Daniel Dubois. There's nothing in that fight for you. It's not worth the purse.
Dave Allen, before we move on back to the fight, is a fighter who, in my opinion, has reached his potential, and he won't reach any more heights. I think he's had his chance. I think now he'll just fight journeyman, and then that's it for him. Do you know what I mean? I think he's had his shot.
I hope you're wrong. I think you're right.
We've seen the guy's got minimal talent. He's got a bit of talent, but he doesn't listen to people. He doesn't harness it.
I agree with most of what you're saying. I hope you're wrong, though. I hope he can find a decent trainer, get back to boxing, and actually, get a couple of fights under his belt like Jason Gavin. Maybe
go down to cruiserweight. He'd be better off going down to cruiserweight.
I agree, but he said many times that he won't do that, so it's a problem. So back to Joyce versus Leroy Thomas. This is a very, very. I've told you my opinion on this fight.
Tough fight.
I do not think Joe Joyce will win this fight as easily as is going to be predicted. Everybody's going to expect him to stop Leroy Thomas easily early. Now that could
easily a 10-round fight, an 8 or 9 round fight.
That could happen, right? He could catch Thomas early. I actually predict Thomas is going to be winning this fight clearly on points, and Joe Joyce will get a late stoppage. I think Leroy Thomas is from watching his 2 fights with Dave Allen, I know the second one ended in the first round, but if Kenny Porter's still in his corner, he is not a bad boxer, and he's faster than Joe Joyce, so he could win the early rounds.
He doesn't have
the problem. He'll get stopped late. That's what I think. He'll win some early rounds on points. He'll look good for a bit, and then I think he'll get stopped late by Joe Joyce. That's sort of. But if Joe Joyce is slow and plodding in this fight, this could be an upset. There is a way this could be an upset. This is Joe Joyce's fourth or fifth fight, and Lenroy Thomas has proven he can outbox certain styles of fighter. And I think if you were gonna,
we're talking about a man that's an Olympic medalist, World Boxing Series. I think he's going to have too much for Thomas. It's not going to be an easy win, but I think he'll win.
He should have too much for him, but Lenroy Thomas is not some absolute bum. He is he is decent enough. I don't rate him highly, but I rate him highly enough. And I think with Kenny Porter in his corner, it is a different fight than the previous.
Oh, I agree. Yeah,
Lenroy Thomas, and so if he can stick to a game plan, there is a game plan to beat Joe Joyce with speed and movement, and Lenroy Thomas has shown he can do that. I do agree with you. I think he'll break down late, and I think Joe Joyce will stop him.
Do you think this is good that Joe Joyce can get a belt like this? I know.
This is a great fight. No. This is a big fight for someone. For someone so early on in their career, this is a big fight. The only problem I'm seeing right here is I'm on Lenroy Thomas's box rec, and the Joe Joyce fight isn't appearing on there yet.
Yeah, it's not been. I think the whole fight. I think it will happen.
Yeah, I hope it's not been confirmed yet.
No, but it's as good as done.
Right, right. Yeah, I think it's a great fight. I hope it happens. I think Joe Joyce will win late, but I do think this is a tricky fight. I think this is an interesting fight.
If Joe Joyce wins this like we expect him to, he can't have a fight against Fury, could he, in his fifth fight? Surely not.
I wouldn't put him in against Fury. I would look for
Derek Cornish type person.
I would try and get the Derek Chisora fight again, yeah, but I don't think Chisora will take that fight. I would also possibly look at Kevin Johnson.
Pricey? David Price? No, that would be a bad
fight. It's not a bad fight for Joe Joyce, but David Price.
It's a bad fight for David Price.
Yeah, there's nothing in it for him. David Price is better served by fighting 4 or 5 bums, getting in the top 10 again, and trying to get a lucky world title shot again.
We'll come to him in a minute because there was something that I read the other day about him. Which I'll come to in a minute. But this is a great fight. I'm excited about Joe Joyce's career. He's got something that's interesting. He's like David Price. Like, you want to watch him. What he does in the ring's ugly, but you just want to watch him. You see what the knockout's like. That big fat guy he knocked out in the last fight. Oh dear.
I'm fine with Joe Joyce. I just don't find him super exciting. I hope that changes over time. And as he gets into big, important fights, it will. I'm interested to watch the Lenroy Thomas fight. I was interested in his first fight against Ian Lewison. So I hope they keep the level of competition higher now, because it's hard to get excited about, the last fight, for example. That was not good. But yeah, it's good. It's good. Have we covered pretty much everything now, bro?
Yeah. Just one more thing. David Price wants to fight for the European title.
I don't think that's that stupid, because Adjit Kabayel is not a power puncher, right? And so I would happily put David Price in there against feather-fisted heavyweights. That's fine.
He won't last the 12-round stamina. His stamina won't last.
No, but he might knock out Kabayel. And so I think that's a good fight for him. I wouldn't say that's a bad fight. I think, he nearly knocked out Povetkin. There's a good chance he'd knock out Kabayel. I think that's a good fight. I think he might lose it, but if he does lose it, that's when he can look to take the, Daniel Dubois or the Joe Joyce fights. So yeah, I think he should. He should stagger his regression. If he's going to fight for the European, if he somehow wins the European title, he's back in the world title picture. So it is worth one last shot, isn't it? So yeah, I'd say go for it, especially because Kabayel's not some power punching lunatic. I think David Price could actually finish a 10-round fight, a 12-round fight with Caballero, maybe.
The right pace, yeah, because it's the pacing.
Maybe. So, yeah, it's interesting. I would say go for it. I don't think it's a terrible idea. I just think he's going to need a couple of wins to even get that shot, though. That's the problem.
I'd go with that, yeah.
Right, well,
we've
pretty much covered absolutely everything. We will be back to discuss Frampton Donaire, Broner. There's a lot of fighting, a lot of great fights this weekend, actually, on the 21st. So we will be back.
I think we should try and have the show Sunday because I'm off Sunday. We need to try and get it done for a change on
yeah, we can. You might have to host, though. I'll let you know. We'll keep in contact about that. We can try Sunday. I'll keep in contact. I'll let you know. I want to do it Sunday as well. That's best for me. So, yeah, perfect, man.
Okay. Thanks for coming on the show, for watching the show, people.
Yeah, thanks to everyone. Hit the subscribe. Share it with people that also like British boxing. In fact, world boxing. We were talking a lot of American boxing today too. Like, share, subscribe. Throw a comment down below if you've got anything you disagree with us on. And yeah, have a great week, people. Look forward to the boxing this weekend. Peace out.